I was a king in Astafor here. They're making me work 60 hours a week. What a shitty place is Earth.
The galactic overlord who couldn't survive a 9-to-5 job. He was known across the stars as Draxith the Eternal Overlord, a conqueror who toppled dynasties, enslaved empires, and bent solar systems to his iron will. His fleets turned planets to ash. His enemies trembled at his name. But then, Draxith tried working an Earth 9-to-5 job, and it broke him. Before we get going, pause this video and type in "Go Humans" in the comments if you think Earth is the most badass planet on the universe. Believe me, it would mean a lot to me. I would love to see the comments of like-minded awesome humans. And if you're an alien and listening to this, duck off, let's start the story. At first it seemed simple. He needed a disguise, a cover life. After fleeing a rebellion on the Outer Rim, he crash-landed on Earth and figured, how hard could survival on this mudball be? Humans didn't have plasma rifles. They didn't have subspace drives. They didn't even have orbital fortresses. What they did have were jobs. And jobs, Draxith soon learned, were the cruelest weapon in the galaxy. His first gig was in a bland corporate office. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, cubicles stretched endlessly, and the smell of burnt coffee and despair filled the air. They gave him a badge that said, "Hello, my name is Drax," and sat him in front of a computer. "Your task," said his manager, a guy named Steve, "is data entry. Just copy numbers from here to here." Draxith stared at the spreadsheet. Endless rows. On the battlefield, he commanded armies of billions. Here, he was defeated by Microsoft Excel. He tried. He really did. But after 20 minutes, he slammed the keyboard down and roared, "On the rings of Velkar, I subjugated 300 worlds in less time than this." Steve peeked around the cubicle. "Yeah, but can you do it in pivot tables?" Draxith wept. The 9-to-5 grind consumed him. Commutes and bumper-to-bumper traffic felt like endless siege warfare. Waiting in line for a sandwich was worse than orbital bombardment. And don't even get him started on meetings. "Let's circle back on this. Put a pin in it. Can we take this offline?" Each phrase was a dagger to his immortal soul. On Asteroid Belt 909, warriors fought for glory. On Earth, warriors fought to survive PowerPoint presentations. But the worst came at 4:59 p.m. Just as he was about to leave, Steve would stroll by and casually drop a folder on his desk. "Hey buddy, can you just finish this before tomorrow morning? Thanks." Draxith stared at the folder like it was a cursed artifact. His fists trembled. He whispered ancient battle chants under his breath. But still, he did the work. Because here, Steve outranked him. On Earth, Steve was the overlord. He tried other jobs. Retail. He lasted 3 hours at Walmart before a Black Friday crowd trampled him into the carpet. On the war-torn fields of Galvoth, he held the line against 10,000 berserkers. On Earth, he lost to a grandma with a shopping cart. Fast food. He nearly conquered Taco Bell, until a drunk customer at 2 a.m. screamed, "This isn't to what I ordered." He still has nightmares about that night. Customer support, don't even ask. The words, "Can I speak to your manager?" haunt him to this day. Slowly, Draxith began to wither. His once mighty armor grew rusty. His glowing red eyes dimmed under fluorescent lights. His booming warlord voice shrank into a tired monotone. "Good morning, how can I help you?" Galactic overlords are eternal. But Earth was killing him. Not with weapons, not with armies, with overtime. And yet, there was something else. Something he couldn't explain. He watched humans, ordinary humans, wake up every day, drag themselves to work, sit through endless meetings and still laugh, smile, crack jokes at the water cooler. They weren't immortal. They weren't invincible. But they endured. No matter how many bills, no matter how many deadlines, no matter how many bosses named Steve. Humans kept going, and suddenly Draxith realized Earth's 9-to-5 wasn't a curse, it was training. A crucible harder than any battlefield. One day, as he sat in traffic, gripping the steering wheel of his used Honda Civic, something hit him. He was tougher, Harder. Scarier. Not because of war, but because of taxes, rent, commutes, office politics, and Karen from HR. On the battlefield, he ruled, but in the office, and somehow, that made him stronger. So when alien bounty hunters finally tracked him down, bursting into his cubicle with plasma rifles blazing, he didn't panic. He just looked up from his spreadsheet and muttered, "Take a number, I'm busy." The hunters snarled, "Overlord Draxith, your time has come." His co-workers barely noticed. One of them whispered, "Can you guys keep it down? I'm on a call." The hunters fired. Plasma bolts lit up the office. And Draxith? He stood. He unleashed something worse. "Do you fools understand what I've endured?" He bellowed, flipping a desk like it was paper. "Do you know what it's like to survive on minimum wage? To work unpaid overtime? To file expense reports?" The bounty hunters hesitated. Steve peeked around the corner. Drax? HR's gonna want to talk about this." But it was too late. Draxith had snapped. He hurled staplers like grenades. He wielded a 3-hole punch like a warhammer. He summoned the unholy power of printer toner. By the time it was over, the bounty hunters lay defeated, sticky notes plastered across their armor. The office went back to work, like nothing happened. "Thanks, Drax," muttered Linda. "Can you get those reports done by lunch?" He nodded grimly. And that was when he knew. He wasn't a galactic overlord anymore. He was something far more terrifying. He was an Earth employee. And in the hierarchy of the cosmos, nothing is deadlier. If you enjoyed this story, smash that like button, share it with your friends, and follow for more hilarious sci-fi tales. Because at the end of the day, forget space empires. The hardest thing in the universe that is surviving a 9 to 5.